triumph. Okay, so I'm very excited and pleased to be joined by Gennie Joy, who is one of the members of the soundSPARK ensemble. And I'm also really excited because I haven't told you this, Gennie, but the bass clarinet is possibly one of my most favourite instruments in the world.
Yes,
so,
me too.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I don't think it's possible that we've never had a bass clarinet in any of our recitals previous to this.
Oh,
So
really?
that might be a first. And we can have a whole Eric Dolphy conversation another time, but that might be a bit more specific than our
Perhaps, yeah.
our colleagues might need. So, Gennie, soundSPARK, it's Lindsay Fillingham on flute, Dean Wood clarinet, Stephanie Legg on saxophone, and yourself, Gennie Joy, on bass clarinet. How do you guys know each other, and what are you all kind of up to? And specifically because we were communicating back in March, and I think we thought, oh, it's probably likely that you'll be back in Faversham giving this recital live, and now obviously, you know, things still look very up in the air. So how do you guys know each other, and how have you guys kept this ensemble going through this time?
So Dean and I go the furthest back. We were actually at university together. We both studied music at Nottingham, and we left almost 10 years ago. So we've known each other for a very long time. We both then went on to study postgraduate level at Trinity Laban down in Greenwich, and that is where I first met Steph, who plays sax. This all kind of happened a few years after I'd left Trinity, so it wasn't a direct thing that happened while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, just freelancing in London with some orchestras, I met Lindsay. And so as this idea was forming in my head, I was trying to think about who might be good to play, and I thought of Dean, and then I thought of Steph, and we've gone through a few sax players over the years, and Steph is our current one. But it's really lovely because we all kind of have links here and there through various organisations or various things that we've done in the past. So yeah, that's really lovely.
And is this a classic ensemble, or is this quite an unusual group of forces to put together?
So I think I've certainly never come across another group with the same lineup as us. And so this group is about 4 years old. I set it up in 2016, and I made a conscious decision when I set it up that I didn't want to be another wind quintet or a clarinet quartet. I wanted to do something different. And I guess I also, in that decision, then set myself up to have to do a lot of arranging for us. But I think it's a really interesting combination of instruments, and I try to model it on an SATB, essentially, like a choir. So soprano, alto, tenor with the flute, clarinet, and alto sax, although those two can kind of be interchangeable, and then the bass, which is me.
And do you guys, because presumably you'll all have a degree of facility on related instruments.
Yeah.
Do you stick pretty exclusively to those instruments, or do you sometimes, does a tenor saxophone appear, or those sorts of things?
We do sometimes. So Steph, our sax player, predominantly plays soprano sax, which is another fairly unusual thing actually.
Mm-hmm.
But she does play a bit of alto, and like most sax players, also plays tenor. So we have kind of played around with that a little bit. Dean also is a really good sax player, and he's also a good bass clarinetist. And they are two things that I would perhaps like to explore in the future.
Yeah. And so you do all the arranging, or you do most of the arranging?
So I do almost all of the arranging.
Wow.
Dean also does some of the arranging, and I know that Lindsay and Steph are both keen to do some in the future as well. It was never something that I had much experience in before starting this, but it became a necessity, obviously, because there aren't any pieces that I've come across written for our group, our lineup.
Yeah. And so in a way that leads me to my kind of last question, because there's something really quite fresh about this recital, and I've kind of been party to a little bit of it. There's so this idea that you're not just as an ensemble performing, we come together and we play these pieces, which would be a lot of what we'd see in our recitals a lot of the time, and folk music gets attached to I think you use that term directly and in your introduction, and to my mind, folk is a complex kind of word to describe this sort of music. I'm very much of an old musical anthropology line, which is all music is folk music, made by folk. It's just made by people. But it feels like your ensemble really embraces that, the fact that you're rearranging this really diverse material for the musicians that you are. And how much is that a vital part of your ensemble?
I think it absolutely is. I mean, as you said, there's no music out there for our ensemble apart from one piece that a previous sax player wrote directly for us. He wrote the piece for us as a group, but I think the rearranging gives us a really great start to do something that is very fresh and is very different, because there are almost no preconceptions for our ensemble because people often haven't seen anything like it before. So I think it's really exciting and really interesting because it means that we can kind of go to different places and try out different types of music. And because we are rearranging everything, I don't know, it feels like we kind of have more liberty maybe than we might do otherwise.
Yeah, and given that we are in this really strange situation, particularly for musicians and musicians who a lot of their time is making live music, do you think, I wonder if you guys are you're in a position to be flexible and creative in a way that we as musicians are going to have to be really flexible and creative in the near future?
We've tried to be very flexible and creative during this lockdown. We've done various things on the a cappella app, which is the main app that we've used to record this recital, which when I first started thinking about how we were going to do this concert for you, I was trying to work out a way to be able to get something of what it would have been like across to you. And I thought very briefly about doing kind of solo stuff and putting that together, but I knew quite quickly that that's not what we do and that's not who we are. And
Okay.
yeah, so we've tried to be very flexible and very creative and have tried different things, different ways of working. And of course, it's not, the same as being in the same room and playing with someone in the same room. But I think it's been great that we've been able to create this content, and it's certainly opened the door to a lot of interesting questions about what we do moving forwards and the things that we take from this period and how we change our way of working for the future.
Yeah, and I think our audience are going to they're going to hear a really colourful and there's a real intimacy around the way that you've chosen to put this together. So we're really excited that people are going to kind of experience your recital, although we would very much like to welcome you in reality to Faversham at some point. So Gennie, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to hearing the recital.
Thank you, Ben.